Welcome to the Impact interview at the site of Australia Wind Energy 2024. And today I'm very excited to be joined by Mr. Pelayo Rodriguez Alonso, Head of Business Development APAC at Ocean Winds.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, to start off, for those who may not be very familiar with Ocean Winds, can you briefly introduce yourself, your role, Ocean Winds, and how that's all related to Australia's energy transition?
Thank you very much for having me again. We Ocean Winds, we are the company which is fully focused on offshore wind. We are a joint venture between a company called ENGIE, which is one of the main utilities in France, and EDPR. As mentioned, we are for the whole period of lifetime of the process of development offshore. So from the very beginning, origination, to the development of the project, also construction, financing the project, operating the project, and the commissioning of the project. So we are very much a global company. We have at this moment 18 gigawatts of pipeline. We have built approximately 1.5, and we have in Australia particularly being awarded on the 1st of May with 1.3 gigawatts feasibility license in gypsum. So we're very, very thrilled to start in this new market for us. In my case, my role is the head of APAC for the business development unit. So basically, I am responsible for Australia, also looking at Japan and other new geographies within that region.
As you mentioned, you cover the whole APAC region.
Yeah.
What are the main differences you see in developing offshore wind projects in Australia compared with other markets such as Japan, Korea, Taiwan, for example? And how do these experiences shape your approach to Australia wind?
I think there are several differences. I think the main common point is that there are new markets, all of them, compared with other markets in Europe, where we have been decades, several years of experience. They have different challenges. At the same time, I think all of them can benefit from that experience in the European markets. However, from a European developer, Australia makes things easy in terms of language, for example. It also helps that they were one of the first countries in the world with maritime special planning. And although I would say that Korea and Japan were the first ones regulating offshore wind, for example, Japan in 2019 and Korea even before, Australia is catching up very, very quickly. There's been several rounds in Japan, and that will allow the industry to go. But the pace in which Australia is going is just impressive. In the last 2 years, with so many areas declared, shows that perhaps Australia will move even faster. In terms of geography, what we see is that Japan is very much will be a floating country because of how deep the sea is. However, Korea and Australia have the possibility of also having bottom fixed. And in fact, most of the projects that we will see soon in Australia will be bottom fixed. So I think roughly there are many, many more different and interesting points that we can raise. But I think those are the main differences.
And zooming in your high sea wind project, which is very important, can you introduce a bit more about this background and also its future plans?
Yes, we are very, very happy. It's our first project in Australia. And we are focusing on different work streams. Of course, on the 1st of May, when we received the news, we were celebrating, but then we have to really start working on several different aspects. As any project in the early stages of development, we will be focusing very much on permitting and consenting. It's very important. And of course, on all stakeholder management, particularly in Australia with First Nations. We are also planning long-term to hire and have a strong team in Australia, deployment. Probably will also include training people because it's a market in which there is no experience in offshore wind. And further down the line, of course, once we have in place the management plans and the appropriate regulation, we're hoping to put lighters in the water and start moving to the next stage of development.
Yes, as we strive toward net zero, it's always important to engage people and engage community interest in this project.
For us, it's one of the main, if not the most important thing, to keep inform the community so they feel comfortable with what we're doing here.
Yes, definitely. And innovation is very important in the wind sector. For you right now, what is the most important technological innovation that you are looking at?
I think there are many topics that are being raised, hydrogen and batteries. But for me personally, and I would say that it's for my company, for Ocean Winds company represent, I think floating, I'm not sure to call it innovation because we have reached a stage in which we want to move to the next commercial scale
Yeah.
level. But yeah, I think floating is very, very important for our industry. Why? Because if you look at where everything is studied in the North Sea, that's very shallow waters.
Yeah.
But if you look at the rest of the world, all over the world, from Australia, Japan particularly, but also the Mediterranean Sea, there's so many places where you cannot build bottom fix. Floating will unlock that. We are especially special experience on floating. We have been working on floating for more than a decade. We have Windflow Atlantic, which is a project in the coast of Portugal, um, of three floaters, and we are also building also another project in the south of France called AFGL. In Windflow Atlantic was turbines of 8.4 megawatts. In AFGL, it's already 10 megawatts. And this experience, I think, will be very useful to move to the next stage. In our case, will be in Korea, where we are expecting to reach commercial scale, several hundred megawatts. And I think that will be useful, perhaps not right away in Australia, but in the future, I'm very much sure that this will be very, very important to really increase the capacity and number of projects. And as mentioned, as I'm in charge also of Japan, I think in Japan you can only reach big project thanks to floating. There's still some challenges, but I think in terms of the technology, we are very confident that it works.
Understood. And wrapping up today's interview, if we do have the honor to have you next year, what industry progresses do you expect most?
Well, I think for next year, we will have, I hope we have more clarity on the auction of Victoria State, particularly we're talking about
Yeah.
Iceland. We hope that we have more defined timeline on that regard. We are also expecting to have more visibility on ports. I think this is very will be very important for the industry moving forward. Moreover, I think on the management plan, if we have more regulation, so a little bit more visibility in general. On our side as Ocean Winds, we expect to have more people in the ground. But I'm very positive what Australia is doing, and I think things will move forward in a very, very good direction.